God and Goddess living within us. So in this video, I want to talk about a very simple way to look at something that a lot of people misunderstand, especially in non-dual Tantra. We have to understand that there is both a masculine principle and a feminine principle to all of reality, to existence, just like there's male and female. And then Shiva and Shakti are representing these two principles, at least in Shaiva Tantra and other different yogic, essentially esoteric traditions. So when we look at these two fundamental energies, unlike other religious traditions that tend to create a singular masculine form of God, this way of looking at God is also one, meaning that the masculine and feminine must merge together in order for the being, the individual, the person, practicing yoga and learning these different traditions, ways of thought, ways of living, ways of being. Many of the things we share on this channel being from those traditions, and just the, you could say, synthesis of all of that into the modern era. We have so many different branches of Tantra, and also you could even look at the Egyptian and Kemetic traditions as having both those masculine and feminine, or gods and goddesses, in the Netars and the Netaru. And then in Shiva and Shakti, we're looking at, or Shaivism, we're looking essentially at those two poles as Shiva as the masculine, the ascended consciousness, the I am presence, the one that is all-pervading in everything, that bliss conscious awareness, again, Satchitananda, or Brahman, the Atman. There's so many different words that are used to identify, and different traditions like to put a specific form or masculine identity, obviously, to that region, the father, the head, the higher centers, and that is the state for a yogi where you reach that samadhi, or that bliss consciousness in meditation, where your meditation becomes a lived reality and not just an exercise. I need to go meditate, and then you meditate and you're still mad, you're still angry at everything. I'm not saying you can't experience emotions. You can experience all emotions, especially in Tantra. In Kundalini awakening, you're purging emotions. You have to feel and move through the emotions in order to ascend in consciousness. So don't let this be spiritual bypassing. There's a lot of spiritual bypassing in this realm of speaking non-duality. Everyone's like, oh, non-duality and everything's one and this and that, and it's not as simple as that. The true realization comes when man and woman realizes that we have Shakti within us, and also the ability to attain to Shiva, or that ascended consciousness, that is one with God, one with the eternal self, one with the eternal being, the supreme oneness, you could even call it, the Godhead. There's the Trinity involved with that, one way of looking at it. But I want to keep it here, and again, in different traditions, that Trinity, sometimes with masculine and feminine principles, sometimes with just fully masculine. And then also, if we look at Tantra and the different mantra traditions and forms of the goddess, we have the same thing there, a trinity of goddesses that can be arranged in different ways. Just as you have the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or Ishwar, or Mahesh, whichever way you want to look at a more manifested form of Shiva, or that supreme consciousness. And then Shiva, again, being more of Brahman, if you truly realize the Shiva Tattva, or Shiv Tattva. And the Tattvas are essentially just our consciousness on different dimensional planes, and states that only humans out of all beings in existence can connect to. Whether you want to believe in this stuff or not, I recommend you read about this and look into this, because this is a really deep way of understanding some of the dimensions, and how people say, oh, it's the third and we're trying to get to the fifth dimension and this and that. You could see this as even transcended beyond the fifth and way beyond all the dimensions. essentially would be that Shiv or Shiva Tattva, where you're actually experiencing a oneness and you're no longer this identity of self. And then Shakti, so Kundalini awakening. So I'm going to make this really complicated and I'm going to make this really simple, so you got to stick with me here. And then Shakti or Kundalini awakening can happen both for man and for woman, and this manifests a little bit differently because woman is naturally Shakti. She is the goddess embodied, and man is Shiva, or that divine nature that can realize, yet also has his own counterpart of Shakti within him. And that's a fair distinction to make. But then women can also attain to Shiva, but the process and the way that happens is going to be different based on our natural polarity. So I want to point that out as well. When you're choosing to see it from the duality, you have to see the duality and then merge these two energies within yourself or with another. And that possibility is there too. But ideally, if you want to have the true realization or self-realization, you have to do this alone, and then more can come. But essentially, when you find your two energies meeting within, this is the chakra awakening. So once you're getting past the lower three chakras, this can be seen as the feminine centers. Then you reach the heart, which is the balance, and then you will go into the higher centers, which is more of the masculine or the etheric dimensions. Even the throat chakra becomes the akashic element when we look at the tattvas of the chakras and the 7 main chakras. And then we reach ajna, the third eye, and eventually crown, where we can have that realization of Shiva, of true being, that not just knowing it, not just saying the mantras, but we have to connect with Shiva directly. And then eventually we may have that realization of what it's like to see from an ascended consciousness. And that is through the practice. But this is where God and goddess and being embodied as gods and goddesses as well, and not seeing that as a hierarchical system like the religions have pushed onto us, but seeing that as a fundamental possibility that we each have the innate divinity of both the masculine and feminine principles on a divine and human level, if we can call it that, without losing the spiritual qualities, without getting identified with the individual experience, because everyone has an individual experience, and the Shakti or the goddess is all about embodiment of self. So the lower chakras, mastering life on earth, mastering how to really see through your visions and create things into the physical reality, and what you could say manifest. And most people think manifesting is, oh, I want this thing, I want this thing, I want that relationship, I want that money, whatever it is. And you're manifesting that, you're putting energy towards that. But your manifestation is actually what you make concrete or actually substantial from the higher dimensions. So once you experience Kundalini awakening and you've retained enough energy, and then you've also attained to the higher chakras, and then you will have multiple awakenings in Kundalini, not just one. So the first energy may be very intense, and then you have a lifelong journey to rise up each of the energetic centers. And again, the 7 main chakras are the easiest way to make this simple, so we stick to that. But then you understand that the gods and the goddesses aren't just these external forces, as these sound frequencies or the language is closer to tuning us also to celestial vibrations, because the sound or the word is infinite. They say in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God, the word meaning that sound frequency. In the Vedas, this is Om. This is the whole point of chanting Om. They say everything is that you could possibly know in all of existence is contained within the Om sound. These 3 syllables put together, and the way you can draw that and how it represents those 3 basic, that Trinity again. So when we're chanting Om, we have to realize this is what's going to help us reach the higher chakras, because we're starting to utilize the throat chakra. And understanding Kundalini awakening, when you start to use the higher centers, this literally means speaking more or singing, and also listening. And then third eye is seeing, looking at the reality for what it is. Maybe it's even going for long walks and you watch the scenery, you watch whatever it may be, because you're like testing your vision, your literal vision. Tantra is about embodiment as much. So once we reach to the higher chakras, we're still having that connection to the divine feminine or shakti, which is beginning in the root, and then the lower three, the Muladhara, the Svadhisthana, and the Manipura. And those are the three: the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, the three feminine chakras. And then we have the heart chakra, Anahata, which is the bridge, Vishuddha, which is the throat, again entering beyond fire, water, or earth, water, fire, and air, respectively. And then Akash, or ether, space in the throat. And then all of these are going to be non-physical chakras, as well as higher mind, or actually using the ability of our thoughts to create, to manifest. What do I want to feel today? What do I want to think about? Do I want to clear my mind? Do I want to connect with nature? Do I want to create something visually, art, or digitally? Now we can use technology for more than just scrolling and basically getting stuck in it. And that's what being essentially even gods and goddesses in today's day and age, without all the extra dogmas and things added over the years and different traditions, and this school says this thing and this, one says that thing, and everyone will always disagree about things, and that I'm perfectly okay with that as well. I disagree with a lot of things that are happening, but at the same time, we understand that this is how we can use the technology instead of getting sucked into it and just controlled and duped and becoming stupider by the way they subliminally program through ads, through all the AI and whatnot you have on the internet nowadays. And that's cool, that's great, but at the same time, you have to be able to see through it. And hey, how can we use this? How can we manifest these different divinities? If we look at the different realms of Shakti, and this isn't to say that this is an even more advanced way to look at it, that the higher chakras can be feminine and the lower chakras can be masculine, because you can also see it from that way if you'd like to. But again, this is how we're seeing it from Tantra. So this is just one way of looking at it, when at the same time, like I said, Kundalini Shakti, or the divine feminine, literally the goddess, is going to go all the way up to your third eye and eventually into your crown chakra if you're having this full awakening. But if you only awaken the root chakra, like a lot of people, you may experience some physical benefits from Kundalini awakening, but you won't necessarily see into the spiritual dimension of it, and you'll always just be like, well, this happens, and it's definitely Kundalini. And you could say that, you could, they say Kundalini syndrome, and a lot of it manifests in physical ways. But once you learn to harness your energy, and also, you just abstain from doing any of the really extreme practices of some of the Kundalini yoga that's out there today. I don't recommend any of that. I very well have lined out a good amount of Tantra on this channel to connect with both the goddess, forms of the goddess, and forms of God in their masculine and feminine representatives, as well as just allowing that Shakti to emerge naturally through all these chants as part of my sadhana and part of my practice, which I've been into for more commonly 8 years, but still learning for 12, 13 years now, different roots of the Vedas and Tantra and Mantra and the chakras, how this all connects together. And when you understand this, I want to help you understand that these forms exist within you, and to not get caught up on any of the images or but connect to the divinity, like really use that visual to visualize connecting to a form. This is the reason we have personal forms of God, because for each individual, there's a unique aspect that can help them to connect closer to God in their own way. And all these different chants can help you. Some are more just essentially kundalini awakening and tantric, and that's the bija and the chakra mantras, which I have available on all the streaming platforms as well. You can look up my music and you'll find that as well. But I also want to explain how once you connect to this level, whether you are man or woman, you have Shakti and Shiva inside of you. You have this connection to divinity, to the mother. If we look at the life as, it makes sense that she is in the root chakra, because all life is connected through the roots, like the roots of the trees, the roots of our feet to the earth. When we do that, we ground, we connect energy directly from the source of life up through the body. It produces this healing effect to the body and discharges negative energies or bad energies from the body. Electrons and protons, all that stuff gets exchanged in neutrons. It's like we are connected on such a deep level. And then to the cosmos, we look up at the stars and the sun and the moon and all those things, and we wonder, like, what is all of this really about? And we realize all these things are both external to us and intimately connected to us. We are intimately connected to everything, to the heavens, to the earth, and to that inner space of divinity where we realize that everything we share here is essentially a tool to help us connect closer to the self, to God, to the source, and to the goddess, to the mother, to remind us that living is the divine experience. And you can even say the most divine experience. Even in religious traditions, they talk about this. The body is the temple of the Most High. Like, what does that mean? In esoteric Christianity, that means that your body is the living energetic system that is mapped out in the cosmos and can create all things. And what would we do if we knew how powerful we were created to be? And other traditions may have got mixed in to try to stop that. What would we do if we knew we were gods and goddesses and we were connected to the Most High, Mother and Father, as well as the source, the creator of all of these things? And in that union, we start to realize spirituality is about realizing that we all have a source within us, a spiritual connection to each other, to life on earth, and to the Most High, to the divine. So, hope this video is landing for everyone. Make sure to subscribe for more yoga, tantra, healing, and you can also reach out to us directly on Patreon. Subscribe for direct lessons. I'd be happy to share more of these teachings, more of the sources of where this information comes from, as well as give you the direct practices, the direct experience of Shakti, to where then you may start to learn through that awakening. She will bring you closer to that divinity and to that eventual self-realization. And then, which is the whole purpose, is to find ourselves, is to know, why did I come to earth? Why did I incarnate in this body, in this time, in this place? Whatever that might be for anyone, that is individual and unique to all of us. And that's what Kundalini awakening and self-realization is all about, until we have that true realization that can take however long, lifetimes, years. It could happen right now if we're willing, if we are available to the work that must be done. So connect with us, check out those links, go follow us on Instagram and all that stuff, reach out on Facebook. Love to connect, love to speak directly with people and share experiences and awaken, elevate together in this time. Much love. Jai Ma.
Doing that closer, and then went for that tail that was flopping over the side. And then they went at it. It was great.